I'm going to call this meeting of the Arundel Planning Board to order. Today is November 1st, 2022. It is 7 p.m. We are in the municipal meeting room. Items on the agenda. We have approval of the agenda. We have approval of the minutes of October 18th, 2022. We have public comment. We then have a public hearing on Goffbrook Farm subdivision final plan. After that, we have old business, approval of the Goffbrook Farm subdivision final plan or denial, depends on how you guys feel. Under new business, we have two items, Oak Ridge Terrace 2 subdivision amendment. And item number 2 is Cape Arundel Cottage Preserve, the 7th subdivision amendment. Then we will have other business and then we will all go home.
I will move that we accept
Okay.
the agenda.
Motion has been made by Tom McGinn to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Seconded by Marty Kane. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. The approval of the minutes of October 18th.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Motion made by Paul Green, seconded by Susan Sinnet to approve as written. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It is unanimous. Public comment. This is that point in the meeting where if you are a member of the public and have nothing on the agenda that you want to discuss, you can speak now or forever hold your peace, whatever that line is that they say all the time. Okay, seeing nobody with any public comments, we will continue on. The first item is the Goffbrook Farm subdivision flood final plan, a proposal to construct a 14-lot residential cluster subdivision on a 41-acre parcel located at 166 Log Cabin Road. The property is located in the R3 and shoreland zone on tax map 38 lot 21. The applicant is Porter Land Preservation LLC, and the applicant's agent is Stephen Doe of Tobago Technics Incorporated. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address this issue?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to bring to your attention, and I see that Ms. Nelson is on our screen, that you do have in front of you a copy of an email that she sent in for your consideration and comments as part of this process.
Okay, I will read that email into the record. This is from Ginny Nelson. It was written on Monday, October 31st. Subject Goff Mill construction concern. Hi, I was sent notification of a meeting to be held tomorrow evening as an abutter to this upcoming construction project. I sent my note to the Arundel town planner, who then advised that I send my concern on to you. I wanted to express again the issue of traffic speeds on Log Cabin Road. I live opposite where the entrance will be and already have great concern related to speeds currently on this road. This is a long straightaway that people have historically accelerated far above the speed limit, whether passing or not, mostly headed toward the port. Hoping folks will be giving this attention it deserves. I'm hoping to attend the meeting tomorrow evening. Thanks, Ginny Nelson. Unfortunately, Ms. Nelson has joined us via Zoom, and we do not take public comments over Zoom. Is there anybody else that has any comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
just to clarify that a little bit.
hang on. We're going to get out of the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
It is 7:05 and I'm going to close the public hearing. Now the planning board can ask questions and make comments.
On the concern addressed by Ms. Nelson, we really have no
Please
jurisdiction.
speak into the mic.
Based on the concern submitted to us by Ms. Nelson, we really have no control over that. That would be something controlled right by the state as far as the speed limit, and the enforcement would be the police code. We really don't have any say on the speed limits on that road. Is that true?
That is true. We have no control over it. I would recommend, and since Ms. Nelson is here, I would recommend that if you have any questions about that or would like to bring that up to the Board of Selectmen, that if you show up at one of their meetings and ask them to have the police enforce the speed limit. Because it's quite obvious that they do not.
Right.
But that's the most that we as a planning board can do. Okay. Does the board have any questions for the applicant concerning this project?
I had one, from our meeting minutes last time, I asked about the lighting and you said you're gonna check into the end of it and then it would be on the final plan. Has that been shown?
It is on the plans. It was on the plans that were submitted originally,
Okay,
and it's on the landscape plan.
so the end, because we had talked about the variation and I said I wanted to make note that I don't want it to be just a light, a slight light. I want it to be like a light that can light the end of the road. And you said that that would be clarified in the actual final plan because it's on it
It's on
as a
the
light,
drawing, and it-
but it's
it
a
calls
street
it-
light?
Yes, and it calls it as a full cutoff
Okay,
fixture.
thank you.
And just to kind of give some more information for Ms. Nelson, I know she had brought that up during,
Speak into the mic, please.
she had brought that up during the preliminary plan as well. I remember her comment. And that was part of one of the reasons why we added the street light. We can't do anything about the speed, but we are doing additional clearing on our side of the property so that people exiting this road can see in both directions, and see the oncoming cars. And we are at a high point of the road, so there is good visibility in both directions. And DOT did give us an entrance permit, so short of having a policing of the speed limit, there's not much else we can really do on that.
Any other comments by the board? Well, here we go. Yes.
Yeah, the comment concerning the sprinklers and the cistern, I know that the fire chief just submitted something that he had a question on it. Has that been resolved?
It has. The fire chief gave us a letter that referenced having sprinklers as well as as an option to cisterns. And it was explained to the fire chief that the land use ordinance does not allow the cisterns out in subdivisions anymore. They must be sprinkled. And he just had not, at the time he wrote the letter, he was unaware of that ordinance had actually passed.
And we have added a note to the subdivision plan that says all buildings are required to be sprinkled. So that was.
And
What's,
that was
what's
added.
the water supply for that?
It'd be the wells for the each home.
And you'll also find what I've provided you is rather than a full planning board report was proposed findings of fact on the project for your final. And one of the conditions is that all homes in the subdivision have individual sprinkler systems for fire protection.
All right.
Okay, so we will move forward with the reading of the notice of decision and findings of fact. Porter Land Preservation LLC initially submitted a sketch review application in August of 2021. A site walk was held after the sketch presentation in the fall of 2021. Based on the comments at the site walk, the applicant adjusted the plan and submitted the application in February of 2022 for preliminary subdivision review. The board had a number of questions for the applicant in regards to stormwater and wetland impacts. The board also received letters from the direct abutters regarding impacts to their property. Steve Doe of Sebago Technics addressed all of the questions to the satisfaction of the abutters. The board voted 6-0 to find the application complete and voted 6-0 to approve the preliminary application in March. The Porter Land Preservation LLC submitted the final plan set for review on October 3rd, 2022, after waiting to receive the Maine Department of Environmental Protection site location of development permit, the Army Corps of Engineers permit, as well as the Maine DOT access permit. As previously stated in the preliminary plan review, the project consists of construction of a 1,560-foot long roadway with a cul-de-sac which the 14 residential clustered lots will front on. The road will align near the existing driveway connection to the lot on Log Cabin Road. Lots range in size from 43,860 to 62,126 square feet. Each lot will be served by individual well and septic disposal systems. Lots are sited to avoid wetlands to the largest extent practicable. Minor wetland impacts will be required for the construction of the roadway and some lot areas. Open space surrounds the majority of the house lots and provides a suitable buffer to adjacent residential and commercial uses. All homes in the subdivision will have individual sprinkler systems for fire protection. Porter Land Preservation LLC has obtained approval of a street name from the town, which must be added to the plan set prior to recording the plans in the York County Registry of Deeds. To address the various items, 11.1 pollution. The applicant has provided sufficient information to indicate that pollution is not a factor in this development, including a nitrate analysis and soils profile. The application has been reviewed by both Army Corps of Engineers as well as the Maine Department of Environmental Protection and has received permits from both agencies. 11.2, the applicant submitted well drilling information from Drumlin Environmental indicating that the site yields 100 gallons per minute. 11.3, impact on existing water supplies. A&L Laboratory of Auburn, Maine will, as well as Nelson Analytic Labs, provide a certificate of analysis as part of the submission, breaking down the drinking water supply for the site. 11.4, soil erosion. The applicant has provided a standard erosion control plan narrative and plans showing how and where erosion control will be placed during construction. The applicant has provided wetland impact information and has submitted the project application to the Maine DEP for a site location of development permit. A third-party review was also conducted by civil consultants on this application. The applicant redesigned the stormwater plan and addressed the concerns of the third-party engineer. 11.5, traffic conditions. The applicant has provided an analysis of trips being generated for this project and has received a Maine DOT permit for the street access location. 11.6, the plan shows test pit locations for all 14 lots. HHE 2000 forms or 200? 200. HHE 200 forms have not been submitted to show septic design systems for the individual lots at this time. This information will be required at the time a building permit is requested. The applicant has also provided a nitrate analysis of the individual septic system locations. Impact on the municipality's ability to dispose of solid waste. This subdivision will have a private waste hauler. 11.8.a, preservation of natural beauty and aesthetics. This site is zoned for this development and is in a portion of the community which has similar development in the immediate vicinity. 11.9, conformance with the comprehensive plan zoning ordinance and other land use ordinances. This application meets the town's zoning ordinance requirements currently in place as recommended in the comprehensive plan. 11.10, financial and technical capacity. The applicant has successfully developed other subdivisions in the community. 11.11, impact on water quality or shoreline, not applicable. 11.12, impact on groundwater quality or quantity. Drumlin Environmental has provided a hydrogeologic assessment as part of the submittal and indicates no negative impacts on the groundwater. 11.13, floodplain management. The application includes a FEMA flood map, which indicates this project is in a zone X with only impacts along Goff Mill Brook. 11.14, identification of freshwater wetlands. The applicant has submitted a wetlands impact analysis, which indicates that the site will have 3 wetland crossings in the roadway location. Gary Fullerton of Sebago Technics has evaluated the wetlands on site and provided the analysis as part of the submission package. Army Corps has also issued a permit allowing the filling of 14,558 square feet of wetlands. 11.15, stormwater management. A stormwater management plan has been submitted on the plan along with the stormwater calculations. A third-party review has been completed by civil consultants prior to the approval of this development. 11.16, preservation or dedication and maintenance of open space and common land facilities and services. Total acreage of this site is 44.17 acres. The development will encumber 17.24 acres with 25 acres to be left in open space. 11.17, compliance with timber harvesting standards is not applicable. Based on the above findings and conclusions, the Arundel Planning Board hereby approves the final subdivision application of Porter Land Preservation LLC with the following conditions. The applicant, number one, the applicant complies with all written materials submitted to the planning board during deliberations. Number two, the proper erosion control plans for the house lot construction be supplied as part of the building permit process. Number three, a third-party engineer shall inspect the street construction and erosion control on this development during construction. The third-party engineer shall be selected by the town and paid for by the applicant. Number four, the applicant will place a surety with the town in conformance with the requirements found in Article 13 of the subdivision regulations in the amount of $795,019.50. Number five, Porter Land Preservation LLC has obtained approval of a street name from the town, which must be added to the plan set prior to the recording of the plans in the York County Registry of Deeds. Number six, all homes in the subdivision will have individual sprinkler systems for fire protection. So approved by the Arundel Planning Board this first day of November 2022.
Move to accept.
Motion made by Marty Kane to accept, seconded by Susan Roth. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a comment, and just for the record, there was concern by several abutters about pesticides and insecticides, and the applicant has added that to the homeowners agreement. So I just wanted to just state for the record, okay, in case.
That is correct, right?
Correct. And we also added lighting, a full cutoff light.
Good, good, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was my second question, was we were going to add into the homeowner association lighting that it was not lighting, but lighting.
Yeah, yeah, there's a note in there about full cutoff on those.
Good, yeah, it's well worded, good.
Any other comments? Questions? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And the plan does have the road name on
The
it.
plans do have the road name on it, yes, so
What is it?
they'll be ready for signing this evening.
Yep.
They come up tomorrow with Ann,
Thank
as
you.
well as your copy of the notice of decision.
Great.
We'll have that signed tonight as well.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to exercise executive authority, and I'm going to move Cape Arundel Cottage Preserve up over Oak Ridge. I'm assuming there's nobody here from Oak Ridge. So we'll just move them up because these guys are here for Cape Arundel.
Are you gentlemen, you're here for Oak Ridge?
Oh, you're here for Oak Ridge? Oh, okay.
He just
I'm
asked,
sorry.
he goes, is
I didn't
anybody here
realize
from
you were.
Oak Ridge? And nobody said anything.
So, Mr. Chairman, I did not do any memo or anything for you on this. This is an awkward situation, but there's really no action the board needs to take other than signing the revised subdivision plan. The applicant is purchasing abutting land from the developer, and under the state subdivision law, sale of land to an abutter is exempt in subdivisions. And so the title attorneys that are working on this on behalf of the applicant, I would assume, has insisted that a revised plan be recorded in the registry showing that abutting land as part of the lot. So I have a plan here this evening for you to sign. You don't have to take any action on it other than signing the revised plan.
Okay. Do we need to vote on it?
Nope,
No?
nope.
Woohoo!
Get
Okay.
quicker than that.
That makes it nice and quick. We'll get that signed right away.
Yes, it can.
Yep.
You're very welcome.
Can I ask why they're doing it?
In that case, Mr. Light, take it away.
We ask that when you speak, though, speak into the microphone because we're having a hard time with transcribe. Thanks.
That's no.
Good evening, now a little bit.
Ready? Yep. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, Rick Light from Light Environmental Design on behalf of Cape Arundel Cottage Preserve. Actually, it's kind of interesting. I was going through my notes from the last time we were here for an amendment on the Cape Arundel Cottage Preserve, and it was last amendment was number 6, July of 2021. Of course, Joe was here, and it's sort of bittersweet because, as you all know, Joe passed away unexpectedly last December, January. Anyways, we're carrying on in Joe's vision, and things have been going very well with our team and with the owners. So, but we all do miss Joe, and I just wanted to acknowledge that if he would have loved to have been here, he's probably looking down on us anyway. So, and giving me some pointers. So, but thank you. This interesting situation, when we did the last amendment, and I can take this up to the board, if I can get this out here. There we go. This, if you can see the map of the project, it's probably hard from where you're sitting, but phases 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is all of phase 5, which we broke into phase 5A and 5B. 5A has, we just completed it. 20 of the site, we're 27 units, 5B 37, I think, 37 units. And we came in for just a minor revision, like a minor amendment to basically tweak the geometry of Sutler's Way, this little Musket Lane, and these are the original, design, Scammon Lane here. And at the time, we also had a DEP amendment to move a unit here. We were going through a DEP permit by rule to do a stream crossing for our Eastern Trail connection. And the DEP at the time, there wasn't a stream there when we initially did the project, and it was identified as a stream. So we had to move a unit 254. And I kept thinking that was all rolled into that approval. So we were looking at foundation situations this fall and realized we never got approval to move that unit. So what we're here tonight for is really talking about work at the very, very end of the project. And quite simply, there's couple different things that we're asking for the board's approval on, and as a minor amendment. So this is the end of Patriots Way. I just showed you at the very end, and this is the Hidden Meadows, with the property line being right here, the 100-foot town buffer being this line through here, and the woods and whatnot. This is Settlers Way, and this is the unit 254. It sort of shadowed here that we had to move because the DEP identified this as a stream and wanted us to move it. So we've taken 254 and simply plucked it off the plan and moved it up to the spot up. We had some land up in here we weren't using, so we plugged it up there. In doing so, we shifted unit 259 down a little bit from its original location. And that's the one change. The second change is way back in, I guess, their third amendment, probably about 4 years ago, when we went through the DEP to permit phase 4, in this area right here, we have a stormwater pond. The DEP made us enlarge the pond, which it stepped on the toes of 3 units right here, 163 to 165. And so we lost those 3 units. And we've never found an opportunity to replace them. We just haven't found a place to put them. So when we were looking at this area, with Joe last year, we said, we got a nice little spot here. Let's put 163, let's capture at least one of those 3 that we lost and put it back here And I originally called it 260 by mistake. We already have a 260. So we're calling this unit 163 and putting it in here. So the changes are simply, moving this unit 254 over to here, sliding 259 down, adding 163 here. And then by putting 2 units in here, we've actually created technically a private way, which we've gone through with Wendy Lank, and I think she's agreed that we can use the name by review of Paulini Way. Will be the private 14-foot drive here for these 2 units. And that's pretty much what we're here for tonight as a planning board amendment to the conditional use permit and subdivision plat. A couple of things that we've proposed in our submission is that we're sort of at the edge of, there's a woods, this is all a woods line, sort of, it was through here. This is going to be the T turnaround when we complete the roadway. Remember, there's an emergency gate here for use only by emergency vehicles, not by construction or by residents. And the Eastern Trail connection has been constructed, which is really cool, actually, going out to the Eastern Trail. We've got a little bridge crossing here, the wetland we had permitted. And so this unit here will be a little bit open. So we're proposing that we put a nice landscape buffer behind that unit just to enhance that unit and give some protection, to the this sort of area sort of open in here, open field. It's kind of overgrown now. So that's pretty much what we're asking for at this point. And the one thing that just while we're here, that doesn't really affect the subdivision approval, I don't think, but we are looking at how to dress this area up here. Right now, we have a metal gate. It's a temporary gate with a Knox box for the fire chief. But if you think about this as sort of like the end of the project, and these are going to be, sort of really nice units in here. You don't want to go to the end of the road and your unit's next to this metal gate. You'll feel like you're you don't belong. So I really want to enhance that gate. We've been out, the contractors are putting in the water main right now, which is going to end about right here. And so if KK&W ever wanted to extend it, remember there's an easement that extends to here. And we're going to move the existing gate down a few feet. There's a nice spot right here next to a birch tree. And we're coming up with a concept for a more elaborate gate, maybe a wooden gate, something that just has a better, a statement. You're not coming to the end of the road, but you're coming to sort of like a park-like feel. But we haven't come up with a design yet, but we're working on it. And we thought we would sort of narrow the pavement down here so it's not full 20 feet wide when you're connecting into the gravel road. So we'll just run that by the fire chief to make sure he's okay with that. But we want that to look nice at the end of the road, not just end as you drive into these units here. So just a little detail we're working on.
Is it going to be lit?
I'm sorry?
Is it going to be lighted?
No, I don't think so. At this point, we haven't. I mean, we thought about some uplights, but
No, I'm just saying,
we haven't.
if you have to come, for the sake of coming there and needing it,
Mhm.
just the light there to, I just wonder.
Yeah, through the chair, we haven't come up with a design yet. Our landscape architect, Leslie Fanger, is going to work on a kind of a concept there to
It's
really.
only a thought.
Yeah, but we might put, if there's landscaping, we might put some uplit, if we do like a pilasters on the end, maybe some uplights on the end, it's landscaping. But if we can get power off of our last transformer, but it's a good question through the chair, Marty, that I haven't
I
thought
think
much
You got
about.
enough sun out there. You
Yeah.
can even do your solar.
We could do a solar. That's a good point. Yeah. You could do some
You
uplights.
could, you could talk with the chief about whether or not you need a light out there.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll run that by the chief just while we're here talking to the board about it. We just want that to look presentable at the end and not just feel like you're coming to the end of a road and there's a gravel road there. So I guess that's pretty much the change. The only thing that we are also doing is legitimately we're filing with the DEP for a minor revision. We don't, and to be clear, this unit being approved has already been approved by the DEP back in 2018, but we adding this has not. So we're applying for a minor revision, and we don't think it's going to be a big deal, but it takes DEP a while. But we are for stormwater. They always ask about stormwater. We're putting a drip edge around that unit to take care of the stormwater for that unit. Putting a note on the plan. So I don't know when that'll be approved, but if the board's agreeable, we'd like to get approval here, maybe condition upon the final, DEP revision, but there's really nothing else. And then just as a status, if you haven't been out there for the board's edification, this phase is currently under construction. Like I said, 5A has been completed. The units are still being fitted out, but the site work was completed a couple weeks ago. They're hydroseeding the grass and is growing in. Landscaping is almost completed. Little thing called power, CMP, that's kind of been a problem. We can't occupy any units until we get power and get our pump station going, but CMP it's been difficult to get power, but we've been told we might have transformers and power next week, and we're pretty excited about that. But so this phase is now under construction. They've got about 8, 9, about 10 foundations in. They're trying to do a couple a week. We're trying to get ahead of the frost, and then they'll be working. All these foundations are in their framing, several units, and then we're going to work these units back into Settlers, or in, yeah, Settlers Way here, and work our way back. So that'll probably go on for the next year and a half or so. So with that, I would open up to any questions by the board or the public.
Any questions, gentlemen, ladies? Marty, go ahead.
Question. Since the new ordinance has been put through on units, do you have sprinkling systems?
These do not.
I mean, that was, you know, I don't know how we would deal with that.
I guess how we would deal with that is this project has been on the books for such a long period of time.
Right.
That it's pretty much like a grandfathered situation, and we wouldn't require them to go back and start sprinkling units.
No, they have the fire hydrants in there.
Correct.
That's why I was thinking they have that covered that
Yes,
way.
Yes,
So I mean, but I didn't know. That's why.
yeah, right. No, we would not require sprinkler units in individual homes at this point because they have gotten previous approvals for full fire full fire hydrant situation with full water out there.
Right, and through the chair, it's a 12-inch main. It's being extended again for everyone's memory here, all the way to the end of the road. We're stopping it a few feet short of the property line, but the easement that we've provided for KK&W goes to the Hidden Meadows property line. So if in the future there was ever a need for KK&W to extend water, you know, they have the easement to do so. Yeah, and we have hydrants again, as Lee J said, all the way along the roadways were reviewed by the fire chief years ago.
I have a question in regard to last time you were here, if I remember correctly, we were talking about green space and you were talking about possibly utilizing things that go to the Eastern Trail, which I see that you have. Using these two new additions to that, does that affect the green space percentage from what you had before, or no, because there were buildable unit lots prior?
Yes, the latter through the chair, there's really no effect on the green space. And this is all open space, right? Like an open field area that extends on to Hidden Meadows. And then this is actually, I just cut this off, but this is all woods, you know, through here, buffered by to this area here.
Okay.
You know, isn't that section where you put those new units there, wasn't that at one time possibly where a pond was gonna go or something other?
Through the chair, that was actually, and I'll update the board on that as well. I'm glad you asked, Marty.
But is that about the area?
Actually, the area is, and I'll go back to that plan for reference.
It was going to be near Eastern Trail.
Right here, it was going to be back up here. It was 175 acres, again, it used to be Porter Land Preservation. Michelle and Dustin, and it was going to be back up in here. We were going to access it from Grist Mill Lane. So jumping back to this plan, it would be, this is a vernal pool with a 250-foot buffer
Yeah.
around it. And this is Grist Mill Lane again. So that area would be way up here. Yeah, but and just for the board's edification, I'm sort of jumping around here. Right now, we had come to the board with a concept for a phase 6, probably 6-8 months ago. Actually before that, before Joe passed. And that we're not at this point, I don't think the owners are going to go without Joe going to go forward with that at this time. So we've kind of tabled that at the moment. So we haven't, that's why we haven't come back to the board with anything on that phase 6.
Of course, the housing market hasn't helped any recently.
Yeah, really. But they're doing quite well, the sales here, which is fortunate.
Yeah, Paul.
Has the fire chief approved that private way with those two houses as far as being able to get in there and turn around with his equipment?
We have not approached him about that, no, but we have, we went through Wendy on for the road naming of that.
That would be one concern.
Yeah,
I
you
have.
should probably let him know and make sure that he's good with it.
Good point.
Yeah, because everything else you've got is off a rotary or a main drag, and now I've
Yeah.
got two houses off of wide. How wide is that?
It's a 14, well, we have the 14-foot through the chair extension. And then it's a 14-foot extension here, and then it narrows into driveways, which are 10 or 12 feet.
Yeah, I definitely want the chief to look at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, Tom.
So I have a question on 163. I know 254 and 259,
Yep.
it's simply moving slightly. Is 163, is that a new unit or is that already part of your approved total?
It's part of the approved total, and thanks for asking. So in our submission, numbers get kind of screwy. We're approved for 263 units plus the community center and whatnot. And again, in phase 4, we didn't construct, we lost units 163, 4, and 5, again, because of the pond increase, and we've never captured those back. So right now, we technically have 160 units that would be constructed. This makes the number 100, by adding 163 back in, we'll actually be constructing 161 units, but we have permits for 163. So if we could find space for 2 more units, we haven't been able to, we could come back to the board at some point, I suppose, and still be within the approved number. But the number is 263 approved and 261 will be built on approval of this amendment.
Yeah, Paul.
One last question I've got. How does this, is this exempt from the issues that we had on Route 1 as far as the additional turn lane and stuff, or does this have to be, does that have to be done before this can be done?
The board hasn't discussed this.
But it's,
No,
It doesn't apply to.
What's the trigger?
So the answer to the question is no, the Route 1 issue does not apply. Between the town and the applicant, we've worked out the situation with DOT so that permits can continue to be issued while the applicant is working on the design and getting that issue ready for their permit from the DOT.
Can I ask a follow-up? What are the plans for the left-hand turn lane?
On Route 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Through the chair, that as Lee J mentioned, it was confusing. The planning board, when we had the review going back to 2010, I actually have the approved signed plans right here. There was a note added to the plans that we didn't, because of the traffic generated by the project, without getting into a lot of detail, the bulk of it, the peak hour traffic that was going to be generated would have been generated by that front commercial lot. Because if you go out there anytime, even on a Friday night, you think the traffic is, every now and then there's a car coming. There's no real peak. And there's very little traffic once people are here. They don't, if you sit around there and watch it, there's very little movement because people stay on if they take their kids to go to the beach or something. But on the entrance, there was a note put on the subdivision plan, note number 8, I believe it is, don't quote me, that said that we don't need to build the improvements out here, which I'll describe in a minute, until this lot is built out. And that lot was, for the purpose of the traffic study way back when, we did sort of a maximum development. We said, what if it was going to be a business or a professional office of so many square feet, a retail of so many square feet, and just came up with a number. And if you recall, that also required, because of the numbers that was really generated by here, not by all this, the board required through the traffic review, the peer review, that we put a second lane coming in. That's why we've got that wide throat coming in, and that has been constructed. So what's happened is the DOT came knocking about last summer and said, oh, by the way, you still have to build that turn lane. We said, well, yeah, we've been waiting till we do the end of the project. Or they said, no, you should do it now. So we said, well, we intend to do it, in the next year or so. So we have a performance agreement. They wanted a performance agreement, which it's been signed and endorsed by the selectmen. It's actually now at the bank being co-signed by the bank. And that'll be returned back to the town. And we've engaged with Barton and Logidus to do, just out of ease, Bill Bray, our traffic engineer now works for, they are doing the design of the improvements. I just, in fact, received a conceptual plan this afternoon. They've completed a survey. And what that's going to look like, a long-winded way of saying, would be if you're going north, it'll be a designated left turn into the project. Coming south, it'll be a right turn, wider right turn lane coming in and a right turn coming out like an acceleration lane. And the removal of, one of the requirements was, if you ever leave here, there's a site distance issue right with the corner of the road, there's ledge that sticks out. And so we have to blast that ledge back to improve the site distance. That's always been on the table with
How
the
far
DOT.
do you have to go back? You got any idea?
I don't know without getting on,
Ballpark.
probably 15 feet or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's, so that, the idea is that we've met with DOT and our game plan would be to have that go through the DOT. It's called the developer agreement. Get the plans approved by DOT, which can take months once they're designed, and have this ready for bidding or going for construction next year and get that completed.
Would that be during the summer?
Probably off peak. So it'd be
That's what I'm saying.
spring or late summer, like
Yeah.
towards fall. Yeah, we'd like to do it that way.
So it's not a cluster.
Not a cluster. If it is, the DOT can require that you do nighttime work, which increases the cost, obviously. Yeah, so that's what we're trying to do, is have the schedule where we can get the design done, get DOT to review it. We can't control how long that takes, and be prepared to put it out to bid in this construction in this early spring when the ground thaws and before, pavement plants open, or fall. But we'll see how that plays out. We don't want to do that on night construction. Okay.
Any other questions by the board? Okay, I think at this point, then, we need a motion to determine the application complete. And then we can move forward and in 2 weeks have a public hearing.
So moved.
Motion made by Susan Roth, seconded by Tom McGinn to deem the application complete. Any discussion?
We did just ask him to go to the fire chief to make sure there was something put in the application
Yes.
discussion.
We'll
A
make
condition
sure
to have that been there, so,
We'll have that done before we have the final vote.
okay.
So that has to get done
Yes.
before next week.
Sure.
Okay. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It is unanimous. Now we need a motion for a public hearing on the 15th.
Make a motion, we have a public hearing on the 15th.
Motion
Second.
by Paul Green, seconded by Susan Sinnet. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. We'll have a,
Thank you. We'll see you on the 15th. And I'll
On the
meet with-
15th at
with
7
DOT
PM.
In the meantime. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Yes, good night.
Okay. I think the next item is just whatever the town planner has for us.
Sure, a couple of things, actually. Where will I start? Let's see, one of the reasons I was missing from last meeting was that I was attending the Northern New England chapter of the American Planning Association, which I'm a member. Planning conference, annual planning conference, which exists of, or contains all of the professional planners from Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. This year was here in Maine, it was at Sunday River. There were about 250 of these wild and crazy planners like myself, pretty scary. But one of the things that I think is important is that we're gonna, SMPDC is going to be putting on a workshop probably in the spring. We wanted to try and pull it off this fall, but with all the holidays and everything coming, trying to find a date and advertising, because we want to be able to offer it to all the planners in our region, all the planning board members and others in our region that want to come. Excuse me, there's a lady who is a professional planner down in Peterborough, New Hampshire, by the name of Ivy Van, and she has developed a great hands-on workshop called My Zoning Ordinance Says What? And she basically she gives you a plan, and then a scenario of, here are your setbacks, here's the situation. You can put certain types of buildings on it, and she's got the buildings, and you need to make it fit. And when you try to make it fit, you gotta be really creative, but what it makes you think about is, when you write a zoning ordinance, does it make sense? And does it work? And then what she also does is have you go through the scenario of, what is the lot coverage of your design? Does it meet the standards of your ordinance? And what is the cost per unit for the developer to actually develop the site? And what you will find is that, what you do find is that, because of the way some ordinances are drafted and trying to make it all work, that some development becomes much too costly to do. And it's a really fun but enlightening exercise. And so I've been talking with Ivy about coming up and putting the workshop on for her. So expect to see something from us regarding that in the spring. I think it's going to be really good. It really makes you think about what happens when you start writing your zoning ordinance. Even for us professionals, it makes it kind of think a little bit more about what you're putting in there. Beyond that, it's one of the things, I can't remember, Rich, if I included you in the email, but I did send out an email to most of the towns that I'm currently engaged with, and Hannah Bonine, the other staff person in my office that we're currently engaged with. Believe it or not, they talk about the economy getting bad. We are busier than we have been in a long time. We are seeing subdivisions and developments coming through the door. Towns that we don't normally contract with are calling us for their help. And so it's become very, very busy. Certainly Arundel is a top of the list town for myself, because I'm contracted with you folks as the planner, and I'm here, 1 day a week. Excuse me. So you're a priority town, but I have put a lot of these other communities on notice that we're probably not even going to be able to attend their planning board meetings unless it is absolutely necessary. Because between Hannah and I, we're out 3 nights a week right now, and we're covering each other's meetings because we just can't cover them all that we're supposed to cover. So just a heads up, because it is a very busy time. Projects like this amendment, you're probably not going to get a memo from me. It doesn't really make sense for me to spend a couple of hours of time trying to draft a memo for something this easy. You will get findings of fact, of course, or notice of decision, but it is crazy going on out there. And just when you're supposed to hear that the interest rates have gone up and the economy's kind of tanking, it ain't happening, I'll tell you. It's nuts out there. The other thing that I don't know if excuse me, Rich wants to mention it, but certainly please lead it if you want. Next meeting is only the public hearing, and so we thought I think Rich would like to see a little bit more training, and so thinking about putting together just like a steps or punch list of, from the time your packet is ready to attending the meeting, what you need to do, what you should do, what you need to do, how we need to act at the meeting, which you folks are really pretty good, but it's always good to remind you, and going right through the whole process. Not from a legal standpoint or anything like that, but more of just making sure that we do all the things that we need to do. Is that?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's the protocols of having the meetings and how we should conduct ourselves. Little things like make sure you read the stuff before you show up at the meeting. Because if you haven't read the stuff, it makes you look silly to be sitting here and going through the paperwork. And heaven forbid we should ever have an applicant catch us up on it and call us on it.
You just said it though. So do we have to have a full training in order to do that? Because in other words, there needs to be a full training again on the process versus it just being said. You
I think
said
it's
it.
I think more than anything, it's just being updated and reminded. Because I haven't been through a training in quite a long time. I'm sure there's stuff that I have forgotten.
I was in a training last year for 3 hours, so I'm just saying, and I know that
Yeah, I've
Mr.
been
Green
in
did
those.
too. So I'm just saying that in regard to like a full training, or at least have the training be specific to Arundel, not a general.
Yeah, no, this is going to be specific to here.
Because sometimes we talk about things that could happen in a Gunquit and Wells and other things like that, but it doesn't apply to us because we don't have water, we don't have sewer, we don't have this. So I'm just saying like have it be specific to the Arundel process versus it just
Yes.
being
That
a
is the
global
plan.
discussion.
That is the plan.
And then you can all join me in my category. I've forgotten more than I ever knew. Okay, I think that's everything that we have covered.
We have to sign things, right?
Yes.
We do have to
you know,
sign
I've
stuff.
got a bunch of things for you to sign. I'm gonna lay them
Yeah.
out on the table there.
As soon as we adjourn.
So moved.
Wait a minute, Marty's got a
Marty
question
has a
first.
Oh, sorry,
Question.
Marty.
Into the mic, Marty.
Have any of the old ones that we've seen ahead of us, have any of them come forward with any prospective more plans or anything else?
So yes, we did receive an application today, but because it was today, it won't be seen until the first meeting in December. And that is the Solari self-storage facility. Understand that a lot of the projects that we've seen have DEP permits that they need. And the way our ordinance is structured here is they can't get final approval until that DEP permit or any other state or federal permit has been issued.
Yeah.
So a lot of projects are out there, they're on hold until they get these permits. And I can tell you, like everyone else, DEP is short-staffed and it's taking a lot longer for these projects to go through the process.
Okay,
So they're out there.
No, but I'm just saying, if anybody's come in with just plans, and so that if we have to look at them ahead of time, that's what I'm saying is,
Right, no, not at this point.
okay.
And to the chair, just to acknowledge too, I don't always pick up my packets because I look at them electronically. I was talking to Lee J about that, is that sometimes using things electronically is easier for me to read and see than it is for some of the packets just from my site. So things are put
Oh,
into the.
that comment wasn't aimed
No,
at
no,
you.
no, I'm saying in general, packets and things like that are looked through in paper, but they're also looked through electronically prior to arrival.
Yep.
So it's electronic age, but yet we have tons of paper we're wasting. So I'm just saying this is a lot. That just,
Oh, yeah, it is.
it doesn't need to be though. I mean, that's what I was asking legally. Things should be printed that we need to sign and to hold, but a lot of the stuff is repeated and a lot of it's electronic. We should be able to utilize it electronically. Moving forward, just to think about that, moving into the next thing, that we have electronic use of things, visual use of things, and constantly using paper and trees.
That would require the selectmen to buy the electronic equipment for all of us to
Which is
use.
something that the chair could consider to present.
It has been presented and shot
Yes, I
down.
know. Okay, but I'm saying the cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
And the ecological prohibitiveness of all of this paper is just a little bit redonkulous because things are repeated inside of things electronically now. The world is electronic. This is not.
Welcome to Arundel.
Some of us,
I've been here for 24 years, thank you. But yeah.
some old timers still like the paper.
I appreciate that, and I also appreciate the fact that it's a little expensive for, and it's also just wasteful.
I'll be
an
honest,
opinion.
I like the paper for the plans
Yes,
because you
that's
can
what I'm
lay
saying.
them
You
out,
can see
but
the actual plans,
the
but the
documents like this, I
repetitiveness
don't,
of this,
yeah.
And then they come back and send it, they fix it and then do it again. Like they do things again. It just seems to be that we could just go, you know what I mean?
Yep.
See it.
Okay.
Curiosity. Either, I got a question, I didn't know if it should be on or off. I'll change it to off after we're done.
Okay.
And so moved.
Motion to adjourn. Susan Roth, seconded by Susan Sinnet. We are done. Thank you
Okay,
very
Marty.
much.
Spill the beans.
No, hang on.